Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robin Ritchie, and you're logged on to the Imagine That with Robin Ritchie podcast. Tonight, we are taking a look at world renowned Black creatives influencing the landscape of modern cinema and music. So, wherever you are in the world, I'd love for you to give a warm round of applause for none other than Mr. Fraser Prince and also Mr. Sam Archer.
Oh, Robin. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you both here. It's wonderful. I'm honored. How have you been?
Good.
I've been good myself.
It's getting hot out there. First day of summer.
Well, I love warm weather. How about you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I love warm weather as well. I could deal with winter as well. Being a New
Really?
Yorker, being a New Yorker, I could hang with the winter.
I see. Because I was going to say, because I know that your roots are from Trinidad and Tobago. And so, of
Yes,
course, that's very different from a New York winter.
it's the total opposite.
Sweet T&T.
Once again, it is an honor to have the two of you to join me very informally tonight to talk about your backgrounds, what it is that you're currently doing, and pretty much what has landed you on these global platforms that of which you've been rocking for decades. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, because they are world famous producers, okay? And we're talking cinema as well as music. And because I am a producer as well, and you see these two gentlemen have their caps, so of course, I have mine as well. And I said, I'm going to put my cap on, my producer cap, and join you gentlemen. Of course, we're celebrating the 26th season of Imagine That with Robin Ritchie.
Lord.
I'm going to rock my producer director
That's
cap.
right. That's right.
Tell us how you landed on this wonderful journey, Sam.
Well, someone had a dream or a wish. It wasn't me, but I ended up being part of the answer. And my dad bought a piano. I was around the age of 5, and eventually, they're like, "This guy need to get some lessons." So, we were in Tobago at the time, and we found a teacher in an area called Lowlands, and she started me off, understanding the theory and things like that, and that's how I got into being a musician. And that progressed in playing in church. We had choirs and bands, and in the Caribbean we also had steel pan. So I was a part of that. Our church, some pans was donated to our church. So the village orchestra, which was known as Carib Dixieland. They had bought some new pans, so they were nice enough to donate the pans that they had for all the carnivals. And they brought the pans to the church. We baptized the pans, and we started to play hymns and things of that nature. I have some singing experience, so I did some singing here and there. And most of what I did, came from a church background. Obviously, growing up in Tobago, you get all the calypso and and the reggae, and we got American music. We got a lot of I would listen to Casey Kasem and the Scott Shannon show, and listen to the Top 40, and so we loved American music as well. So all these influences helped to shape the type of musician I am today. And then fast forwarding to my early 20s, I started getting into production. I started composing music for film and things of that nature. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for having me to hang out with my friend Fraser. And I'm hoping that we can chop it up as we go. Yeah.
Absolutely. I knew I wanted to examine the journey
Mhm.
of producers, directors who are melanated in cinema. I knew who to go to. You know what I mean? Frasier, my dear. Let's talk a little bit about your origins and how you began on this whirlwind of creating.
Originally, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, the Albany Projects. That's where I was born and raised and grew up in. And my journey started when I was bitten by the acting bug on the making of The Education of Sonny Carson. And I was in a few scenes in that film, which is back in the early 70s. And my background started in acting before I became a producer director. Um, I started going to acting school. One of the people that was involved with the making of the film was involved with the casting. Mervyn Nelson had an acting school, and I went tagged along with my older sister because she was also in the film, and we attended classes. His name was Mervyn Nelson, who was part of Producers Circle with Hal Prince and the producer Marty Richards, who produced Broadway plays, Chicago. They did all the Broadway shows.
Yes.
And then went to a few other acting schools after that. And while I was in high school, I attended Brooklyn College. Again, I tagged along with my sister. I was in high school, but also I was attending college courses at the Black Theater Workshop up under Dr. James Scott Kennedy. And I was learning the roots of acting and becoming a thespian. I got a manager and doing commercials, Coca-Cola, This Is the Army, Kodak, Nestle Soup Time Bowl and Noodles, and I got a show on PBS called Getting to Know Me. And in 1983, I produced a show in 1982 called Be Serious. And that was with Dawn Lewis. She was featured in the actual show that I produced and wrote. And what happened, the show was on the shelf because I ended up becoming a New York City police officer. It put my career on hold for 20 years, because once you become a civil servant, that is your career, that is your time, and it's hard to get time off. But eventually, I was able to rotate myself back into the entertainment business.
Well, the wonderful thing is that the skill, the passion, the knowledge was still there. The drive was still there. And how did, coming from a background of law enforcement, and ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this because he's a very humble gentleman. Okay. Frasier Prince actually was an NYPD detective, correct?
Yes.
Right. So,
Detective and filmmaker.
how did you take those real life experiences and then translate it to the film? And what brought you back?
I grew up in the projects, and which have a wealth of experience going on there. While I was working within the department, I started working for the chief of detective's office after leaving dignitary protection for the former mayor, David Dinkins, and once I got into the chief of detective's office, they needed someone to work with which was my former partner there, which was the media liaison and technical advisor to all the crime shows. So he needed a partner. They brought me on board, and then they found out that I had experience in the entertainment business, and I knew how to work with the networks. That transcended into me making a film, which is right here now, Crackdown Big City Blues, which was the director Paul Da Silva and the executive producer John Cherry III. And that was when I was getting back into the business again. I produced a feature, and it sat on the shelf for a few years because the director passed away. And when we first came out with the film, we had a distributor, and we didn't realize that the distributor was foreign and it wasn't domestic. And then after, when my partner passed, and his brother called me and said, "Hey, listen, this movie is here that my brother and you made. I don't know what to do with it. So why don't you come and pick it up?" Which was one of the 2 prints that we had from that during those times. That the movie was shot in 35, and nowadays everything is all digital, so slightly under $500,000. For back then in 1990, that was a lot of money.
Unprecedented.
When he passed away, like I said, it sat there for a good 20-something years, and one of Paul Da Silva's mentors called me up and said, "Hey, where's that film of yours? I want to introduce you to a distributor." And eventually it turned out that we end up getting distribution domestic, which is what Paul wanted. So his film is out there on various platforms now.
You helped to bring that to the forefront, a dream that, Sam, this gentleman didn't live to see come forward.
Sure.
So how did the 2 of you become connected at this point? Did you know Sam? Did you know Frazier during his NYPD freeze days?
Actually, it was the film festival first, at the Pocono Mountains Film Festival, and that's how it all started. And I saw his table with all his music and everything, and we started working on a couple of projects. We did A Dream Deferred,
Yes.
and the Amadou Diallo film.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's how we met,
So you see, I've been doing merch way back when. I had my table or my music or CDs, at the time, and I'm on the hustle.
And you know what's so wonderful? I'd love to take this opportunity also to shout out Bridget Davis, who is the founder of the Pocono Mountains Film Festival. And I'm honored to have been a part of the panel discussion in the Dream Deferred film. And I also hosted the red carpet for the premiere of that in the Pocono Mountains. So that is another connector. And that, of course, is when and how I first met you, Frazier.
Right.
Sam, you were there also, but you were busy doing your thing. And, I'm standing on the red carpet interviewing people.
Yeah, you were doing your star thing, and I was on my hustle thing on the other side.
Right.
But here we are today.
So we all met at the Pocono Mountains Film Festival.
That's what makes what we do so important, because these sorts of platforms that bring brilliant like minds together, which we need more of within the community, ladies and gentlemen. As you've heard just in this short pocket of time, they have incredible backgrounds. We haven't even gotten to all of the other things that they've been involved in and currently are doing. This is so much larger than us. We're laying the groundwork. Frazier, you directed that film, A Dream Deferred. You did a lot. with that.
I was the director producer, and I also shot some of the interviews.
Right.
And Bridget Davis, she was the exec producer and the writer.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
We did that project together.
As a woman and being a producer, and so look at all that we have today at our disposal.
Yes.
You, as a music producer and a composer and arranger and all of the wonderful things that you do, you're also an educator. Let's talk about
Yes.
that.
I started teaching piano lessons back in the 80s. I would say in the early 90s, I started teaching elementary schools here in the States. I did spend some time in Brooklyn, New York as well. So I was a teacher there for a couple of years. Teaching has been a part of my life for some strange reason without me even trying to say that I want to do this. But I think that if music and composing was not part of what I do, education more than likely would have been that direction for me. I really have a passion and a joy for, in terms of education. I attended New York City Technical College in between 89 to 94, and 20 years later, I attended Full Sail University. Another 10 years later, I'm at Full Sail as one of the instructors here in the music business program in Orlando, Florida. So education has been a thing for me. And I think also being an author and a study of the subject of the music business and the music industry itself also lent to that, to me heading in that direction. So today I'm doing a lot of lectures and, teaching the young minds concepts of how they should approach what they're doing, with their ideas. How do they cultivate what they're thinking of? How do they get into the nitty gritty of marketing? So all that is part of the fabric of me getting into education, and just being able to turn the light bulb on in the minds of the youth that I interact with.
Do you see yourself in some of your students?
Well, I was an interesting student, but yes, I do see once in a while. I'm a little more understanding because when I was in high school, I was part of a creative group. So I was in a class where we had poets, a lot of singers. I was one of the musicians. We had a drama club. But at that time, the education system in the Caribbean didn't really cater for creatives the way first world countries cater for the creatives. So we were sort of like misfits, Our approach to the academics, well, I know for me, I had to adjust to it. It wasn't really tailor-made for someone like myself. So when I approach doing, if I'm going to teach or I'm going to explain a particular thing, I have a wide range of approaches that I would use because everyone, they don't learn the information the same way. You have different, even when I teach piano, I haven't really taught the same way to a particular student. Every student, I had to make adjustments as to how I would teach that student.
Yes.
So I'm thinking my beginning as a not so great student, now that I'm into education and I'm teaching, I'm more of a professor in a university, I can really detect if a student has a certain style that they'll acquire the knowledge, and I can tap into that. I have a little bit of flexibility as to how I can connect with that student. And again, it's when you turn, as an instructor, when that bulb goes off in the mind. You just see you tell them something, and I'm like, oh my God, this is and that is really probably one of the most rewarding things that a teacher could see, is that their effort is going somewhere, and
Yes.
and the students are actually soaking up the knowledge, and they're interested.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's
Mm.
exhilarating to
Yes.
me. You
Yeah.
know, I've facilitated after school arts throughout 3 of the 5 boroughs in New York City, and
Mm.
up until COVID. Yes.
Yeah.
And when I tell, and I've taught dance, art, drama, arts and crafts. So we're talking all sorts of different age levels and
Mhm.
grades and learning styles. One of the things that I loved, gentlemen, was meeting the children on their level and then
Mm.
taking their hands and raising them up,
Mhm.
and what you were saying, those aha moments that
Mhm.
you see when that light bulb comes on and the child connects. And students have a tendency of remembering those teachers. The bottom line is, as an educator, your role continues beyond the classroom,
Mm.
because when you give students those aha moments and you make them feel like they're achieving, no matter how large the accomplishment is or small the accomplishment is, the fact
Mhm.
is that they can see themselves advancing and it feels good, and you're adding to the continuity of their future, you know? So,
Yes.
don't you agree, Mr. Prince?
Absolutely.
You went from real guns to guns on the set. Uh, how on earth did you wind up being the technical advisor and lead liaison for America's Most Wanted?
Well, let me just say this one thing about Crackdown Big City Blues that I failed to mention was uh, Paul da Silva's mentor name is Jim Markovic, and teacher had introduced me to the distributor. His name is Phil Hopkins. And Phil Hopkins was responsible for connecting me with all the streaming platforms that Crackdown is on now.
Mm-hmm.
And that later, with my experience with him and helping him redistribute Crackdown, he then hired me to go down to Atlantic City and do the featurette uh, for the movie that was being distributed. It was for the 40th anniversary, called Fist of Fear, Touch of Death, uh,
Mm.
that Adolph Caesar was in, and Ron Van Cleef and Fred the Hammer Williamson. So because of my relationship with the distributor, and he saw what I can do, he then hired me to do the featurette down in Atlantic City. So that's what I was mentioned. I worked with America's Most Wanted for 11 years. So all their New York cases that they did here came through my office,
Amazing.
Mm.
and I would give them the different cases because New York has five boroughs, so I dealt with all the all the detective squads as well as specialty units that needed help with their cases, and I would give them exposure, and I was there to coordinate between the media and the case detective as well as the family to preserve the in integrity. Being that I had the experience in film and TV, I knew what to give the media side, what to give the detectives, and still preserve the integrity of the family and the deceased, because most of those cases that that aired on Merck's Most Wanted is homicides, so very sensitive stuff. But getting back to what you were mentioning about education, my last film that I just completed called The Hit Boys Redemption. The executive producer had a connection down in Kansas City, and we went down to Kansas City, myself and my DP producer Lamont Liquid Burrell, and Media Arts Academy after school program for elementary students. So the students actually tagged along with us and was studying filmmaking, and they would help us out. They were production assistants. They were also filming, and when I would call out the demands, then one of the students they got hang of it, and they started doing the same thing. And who else was down there with me was Merquan Smith from the Godfather of Harlem. He's the star, one of the stars opposite Forrest Whitaker, and he's also the executive producer. And also we had J.D. Williams. That's J.D. there. J.D. Williams from The Wire and Saints and Sinners. But the students was very active working with us, putting that doing the scenes down here that we shot. So they learned how to shoot. They learned about lighting. They learned about sound and how films are put together. So that's my latest film. It's in the can, and they just finishing up now. It's called The Hit Boys Redemption.
Magnificent.
Also, too, that with students, the documentary. Remember, Sam, that I did for Asbury Park Board of Education with special ed.
Yeah,
and it was dealing with the students with the music and learning the craft and how the rap and back in the day that made sense. And they actually learned how to rap. They learned how to record, and they learned how to do hip hop. They learned how to do the the dancing, and also the graffiti that went along with that period of time. And it's called The Pen is Mightier than the Sword.
Sam, I'll start with you. What are some of the prevailing challenges?
Well, once you start going after your dreams, you're going against the grain. It's really, there's a certain culture or society that we grew up in. They have certain rules. So once you get out of that, then you're like, okay, I want to pursue this, or I want to pursue that. In the real world, the challenges has to do with the access, what type of resources you have access to, what type of connections you were able to create, what type of relationships you were able to nurture over time. If you never went out and made a connection or met anyone, there's a good chance you're just home all alone, right? So you got to get out there. But I had challenges in the music industry, and they varied. Some of them would have to do with if you're shopping music. Obviously, things have changed today. It's a different way to shop music today, but 20 years ago, it was a different type of an environment. You'd be shopping songs, and That's a competitive market as well.
Right.
So that was a challenge. I had a group. We wanted to put out a record. We didn't have financing. Although we tried all types of creative ways to see how we can get a record done. We never got to complete that record.
Mm.
So at one time I was looking for a manager. I couldn't find a manager. And so I had to manage myself.
What makes a good manager to you?
A good manager first would make himself or herself that added member, but they're more like a silent member. So let's say it's a group of four people. That's the artist. That's the band. The manager will make him or herself, depending on who it is, a part of that. It's just that they're not singing and taking part in the recording and the production, but their job is to manage what's happening. And because they can become part of that entity, they can understand the needs of the members of the group or the artists of the group, and actually plot a path that they can take this artist or take this band to reach their goals musically, depending on, are they looking for stardom? Are they looking to tour? Are they looking to just record and be a band in the vicinity? So it all depends. But managers pretty much can, they would normally plot a course that that would actually get the artists based on the needs of the artists as well.
Right. Frazier.
Well, I say pretty much a producer is also a manager, because you have to know how to manage the day-to-day operations of a film set, which you have many different people that work up under you.
Right.
You have your above the line people, you have your below the line people, you have the crew that you have to deal with, as well as scheduling and things like that. And I've learned a little bit of that by doing my first half-hour pilot that featured Dawn Lewis, and also Crackdown. When I did Crackdown, that was a huge responsibility. As a matter of fact, I really didn't want to do Crackdown, but my friend, childhood friend, was, listen, I need your help. I want you to be there. Well, I said, I don't know nothing about producing. I said, I know how to be an actor. I'm a trained actor. He says, but listen, but you could do it. And by working on Crackdown, which was huge, I mean, had to oversee everything. And you have to be the eyes and ears for the director, because he's busy doing one thing. You can't do everything all by yourself.
Sure.
And like I said, in terms of the challenges between then and now, is budgets. The projects that dealing in film. I mean, we were fortunate enough to have that amount of money, but that was nothing compared to the other big films that were being made. It was unheard of for what we produce Crackdown for now. But now it's a little bit easier now because of the technology in film now, because that was actual celluloid. Film is different processes you have to go through. Now everything the whole world is now digital and streaming. So it's a lot more affordable for people to just pick up a 4K camera or whatever and start shooting some content and putting it together. But you have to learn from somewhere. But now it's a lot more easier to get into the business as opposed to before, because before you had these big Hollywood studios, they weren't looking at these young people coming into the business, But now you're talking about every day you have people who are producing and directing, coming up with ideas, because it's a lot more affordable. So you have to do it the big budget way. You can cut a lot of corners, and coming into that end of the business, as a filmmaker, I was pretty much self-taught
Mm.
as far as with producing and directing. But acting, I went to school for that, but not but as a director, I have a sense of direction with with the characters. Why? Because I'm theatrically trained. So
Mm.
I've done that, put that part of it and put it together. And like I said, then through trial and error and experience, by like I said, working on Crackdown, that was like going to college and getting a college degree.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I'm a former
yeah.
student of HB Studio.
Okay, I
Yeah,
remember them.
yeah. HB, your greats from Stella and Mera to Pacino, Shirley Ralph, John
Mm.
Leguizamo. So many people have gone through there. And I was a student at age 15.
Mm.
I had a wonderful instructor. His name was Edward Morehouse, who is no longer with us. The one of you can take this question. How would you translate that to someone who is aspiring to do what it is that you
Mm.
do?
A lot of patience, everything in time. If that's your passion and that what you want to do, you just do it the best way you can. As long as you are putting your time in. I say,
Mm.
like my partner Paul De Silva, he would say, you got to pay your dues.
Mm.
This was going back to the other picture you showed. Um, that was when I was doing the public service spots for the New York City Police Department, and the late uh, Lee Solomon, he was a senior executive vice president in charge of bookings for William Morris, supplied me with most of the celebrities to do the PSAs. Ben Vereen was one of his clients, Jackie Mason, and we would do various PSAs. This was from Care for Kids for Channel 11. Yeah,
Magnificent.
looking at these pictures, it bring back a lot of memories.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's patience. You have to keep the drive up. And like I say, listen, I was in the business um, from 1974, early mid 70s, and then I went to the police department in 1983, and that completely shut everything down. But I
Mm.
still had that drive and that passion. And as I was getting out of the law enforcement business,
Mhm.
and I said I'm going to re-enter the entertainment business and just still keeping the drive up. No matter, I was on hold for 20 years, but I made myself back into the business again. And I see here, this is a documentary that's in post that was working on as a producer director called Rumble Young Man Rumble with Rahman Ali, the late Muhammad Ali's brother. And
Mm.
story is about Ali seen through the eyes of his brother the early years, and I was interviewing him.
One of the things I come across a lot of times, especially with aspiring artists in the industry, and even, it might not be music related, it might be something else that they would like to pursue. You'd have a conversation, and a lot of times they would say things like, can't, or that's too expensive, or I can't afford that now. And it sounds like they're waiting for a bag of money to fall from the sky, or they're waiting on a phone call from someone that is going to throw that opportunity their way.
Mhm.
So what I would just, in addition to what Fraser said, because Fraser really covered it, but I'm just bringing a different angle to it, is to be able to, create a little space for the positive things to happen. Create a little space for where you're the one putting in the work, and start paving the way yourself. And speak greatness into yourself. Instead of saying I can't, say, how can I afford this? And put the mind to work. And once the mind is working, it might take a few weeks, it might take a few months, but somewhere your mind is going to uh, show you a crack in the door somewhere, and say, hey, this is what you need to just pry this a little bit better, pry it open a little bit better, and that is your opportunity. Take it or leave it. Yeah. Once you start on the journey, uh, the space
Never
will
give
be
up.
there. There's room for everyone to,
Right.
to get in there.
Everything in time.
And in time, yeah, there's a time factor there too.
And a lot
Um,
of times we want things to happen the snap of the finger. It-
yes.
It's not. It's on God's time. His timing is good. So whatever happens, it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
But
Yes. Yes.
if you don't start working towards it and start working, you get what you put into it. If you don't put your time into it and push yourself,
Hmm.
like God says, you make one step, I make two steps.
Mm.
Sure. Sure.
Preach, preach.
Sure. And so essentially, what the gentlemen are saying, diligence,
Mm.
and we have to put down the sense of entitlement,
Mm.
that of which reigns often today.
Mm.
You've got to be able to bring it. You've got to have a product that is viable, something that's edifying.
Mm.
We must operate in our level of excellence, not comparing ourselves to someone else and looking at their bar. Their bar is their bar.
Mhm.
Their strengths are their strengths. And you might not have a particular gift that someone has, or perhaps you do, but maybe theirs is more advanced. It's not to be envied. It's not to sabotage. It's not to do any of those things rather than to move forward. And when you can,
Mhm.
extend a hand with those who are like minded. Surround yourself with people who know more than you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 That helps.
Really?
Yes, that helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You, Sam, you've worked with legends.
Ali Muhammad from Tribe Called Quest,
Quest. Yes.
one of my favorite rap groups.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I think I'm in a radio station here. This was one of the very first interviews I did when I did a soft launch for the book, Hybrid Executive.
And
And
talk about the book.
basically, I'm discussing the new type of executive because the music industry evolved and it continues to evolve. And the department walls, what I'm addressing in the book is that the department walls of different departments have been broken down. So you had the A&R department, you had the advertising department, and the marketing and product development, and the labels as we knew what they were. The dinosaurs now. They're trying to adjust and figure out what they're going to do. But hybrid means that next improvement. And the artists themselves are really the hybrid executive because the artist today has to write the material, he has to record it and mix it and master it and package it and actually be his or her. They have to be their own executive uh, today, doing all the things that the label did yesterday. So I address a lot of the concepts in the book. And it's also a good resource for people who may not even be in the music business. I've had a couple of people that weren't in the music business, but because of the industry that they're in, they would read it and use some of the same principles that I addressed in the book, and the feedback has been very, very favorable. So it's called Hybrid Executive. It's out now. It's on Amazon and a lot of different what is it, Nook and Barnes and Nobles and Koto, and there's a lot of different platforms that you can actually get it. You can reach out to me, and I'll pop that in the mail.
Fraser, what would you say to those that at home are watching and intrigued by your background in law enforcement and who wants to transform into a producer or director? What are some of the words of wisdom you'd leave with them?
Well, it doesn't matter how you start, it's where you end up. And it's like one guy I used to work with, he was Don King's attorney. And we worked in narcotics together in OCCB, and there's different things that people do. Once they leave the job, it's not over. So no matter where you at in life or what other job you coming from, the field is open.
So essentially what you're saying is, to quote Eric B. Rakim, it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at.
Right.
We got a little hip hop in here tonight.
Yeah, well, old school, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, you had one of the legends, Grandmaster Flash. And I mean, both of you've worked with the cream of the crop in the industry. These are trailblazers. These are the original influencers.
Special ed. I've got it made.
And what we have to look forward to from you guys. And Fraser, you take it first.
Well, I have a project called RN Real Nurses, that working with a young lady named Tamara Woods. She was a real nurse and the creator and executive producer. And that Sam said, "Hey, you need to ask Fraser to direct that episode." He got me involved. So we knocked out that episode, and that we're moving in the direction to shoot more episodes, probably between 5 to 8 shows. So we're working on that. That's one thing. And then I have another project called Project Black that I'm working on with Montreal Darrett. He's a gospel singer, and that takes place down in Nashville, Tennessee. And I have another project. I can't say the name, but I'm one of the executive producers. I'm working with Ray Murphy and Gene Patterson, and Ray's partner Buck. Was a very interesting show, and that's all I can say about it, because it's not out in public right now.
Right. Okay. What about you, Sam? Current projects?
Well, since I jumped on the train at Full Sail, and I call it a train because we've been just going at a zillion miles an hour. I did do a record that I released back in 2021. It's called Soul Music Vineyard. I am hoping to get to volume 2. I started reaching out to a couple of artists that didn't make it on the first one. So there are a couple of songs that came in already. So I'm hoping that I can work that. I am feeling the new book itch again, so I may work on something. I'll see how nice technology is to me. And then one of the things, one of the challenges I'm dealing with is, the whole streaming technology and the compensation that the artists are dealing with. So, streaming, which is a really, really great technology. It's a great system where you can, an album comes out, you can go to Apple Music, or you can go to Spotify, or whatever, whoever you subscribe to. But the business model has a lot of issues. And so it is a little bit of a pickle when you want to get the new material out, but a lot of money went into it, a lot of time, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. So when you want to get it distributed, you have to put some thought into it today as to what approach am I going to take. It can't be the same one I took the last time, so it would have to be something different. But yes, but I'm hoping that I can have some new music to share with you guys soon.
You know what I didn't do, Frazier, that I would love to do, just to play Crackdown, the trailer? May I do that? Can we do that? Can we just do that? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the opening for the intro of tonight's show, the music was provided by none other than the illustrious Sam Archer. So, you mentioned vinyl. See, I'm one of those old-fashioned girls when it comes to creating and doing all of the things that I do and designing, graphic design and art design and all of that. Everything that I do, the video promos, all of that, I don't use AI. I use R. You know what I mean? It's never AI, any design, any kind of concept or whatever, because these are God-given gifts.
Something to add to that about the Crackdown
Please.
movie, it features Rhonda Ross, Kendricks, which is Diana Ross and Barry Gordy's daughter, is featured in there. And Sam Archer cut the trailer.
Look at this.
I'm trying my editing skills here. Inspired by the great Fraser Prince over there. Yeah,
absolutely.
The keen, watchful eye of Fraser while I did various edits of this gracious trailer.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Crackdown.
Just like Almighty God cast Satan out of heaven, we gotta cast the drug dealers out of our lives. I say to you, you blood-sucking vampire angel of death, we're gonna crack down on you. No longer will you bring the blues to this big city. The drug dealer must die.
Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, sir. I want to go into your drug rehab program.
It seems to me when you speak your mind, you wind up dead. 20 years and still counting and ain't nothing changed.
Excuse me, miss, but this is a black and Hispanic problem. There ain't no drugs in the white community.
This is a people's problem. Black folks are dealing to black folks, Latins are selling to Latins, and white folks are doing the same damn thing. It ain't just us.
To fight. The drugs are just killing us.
One of the damn reasons why these drugs are killing these young people is because we ain't got no more good role models. I mean, who can they look up to? Kennedys are gone, King is gone, Malcolm, gone, all gone.
And there are a lot of good cops out there.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Shout out to the Crackdown crew.
Yes. Yes.
Teamwork.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Major, major.
And would you be kind enough to share with our viewers how they can reach out to you?
Well, you can reach me through my website, which is www.prince, Prince, Henry, Henry, Entertainment, Entertainment Group.com. So that's Prince Henry Entertainment Group.com.
Magnificent. And what about you, Sam?
So people could go to Sam's Digital, one word, SAMSDIGITAL .net, and that's my website. For more of the, if they want to find out more about the book or some of the services that I provide. If they want to go to where the music is, all they have to do is type in Soul Music Vineyard, and that's the domain as well. If you go to soulmusicvineyard.com to learn more about the project. It's a project that I did with a host of various artists, and I couldn't ask for a better cast of artists to do this record. And this record, I remember Robin talking about she's the little engine that could, and this became the project that could. You know, it was really a labor of love with all the artists that were involved, and the project did amazing things that I didn't even see coming my way. So shout out to them. But yes, soulmusicvineyard.com, or they can go to samsdigital.net.
Gentlemen, I want to say to you, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me tonight on the Imagine That with Robin Ritchie podcast. And all the best to both of you.
Having us.
I thank you for all you're doing to represent me.
Amen. Amen.
And everyone out there, all the little ones coming up who look like us, and just people across the diaspora, just around the globe. So thank you so much for holding your positions for so very long and keeping the crowns on your head. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy. But it can be done. These gentlemen have proved it. They prove it every day. We're doing what we do. I have my producer's cap on and director's cap on today for celebrating 26 seasons of the Imagine That with Robin Ritchie brand. And it's just wonderful. Thank you. In the meantime, in between time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much wherever you are in the world. Give yourselves a warm round of applause. And until the next time, this has been Imagine That with Robin Ritchie. Bye-bye now.